So in this video, I'm with you guys on page 5, and we're going through how to solve your 4-step equations. And before we get started, I want to remind you guys that with PEMDAS, which now is GEMDAS or GERMDAS even, we got our square root symbol, the radical, in there now. I want to remind you guys that multiplication always occurs before the addition or subtraction step. So when you see a problem like this, if there's the option to distribute, you always want to distribute first because that's a multiplication step. And then you want to combine like terms because that's an adding and subtracting step. Once you've taken care of that, I want to remind you guys that these are things you are simplifying. Okay, you are simplifying the expression first. And then once the expression is simplified, then you're ready to solve the remaining 2-step equation. So let's dive right on in here. So for the first one, we have a negative 9 times 6 plus n minus 2n would equal a negative 10. So we see parentheses, so we're going to distribute here. This is a negative 54. And then we're going to have minus 9n. And then we're just going to bring down the rest of it. So minus 2n equals negative 10. So we took care of our first step of distributing. Now we need to combine like terms. I'm going to bust out my highlighter. We have 9 negative n's, and we're going to take away 2 n's. So that part right there is where I get my negative 11n. And then I'm just going to bring down my negative 54. And then we still have equals negative 10. So at this point, we have a 2-step equation left to solve. I want to remind you guys that it is a 2-step equation because we have this term, a negative 11 with n, and we have this term, a number all by itself. That makes this term the constant. This term has 2 parts. We have a coefficient and our variable. Okay, so I'm just going to undo all that. That was just a quick little vocab refresher. But now here is where we drop our line, and we're going to add the 54 to both sides to get rid of the constant. That cancels out over here, and we're left with negative 11n. And over here, this would be a positive 44. Now you divide by whatever the coefficient is to cancel it out. And this part you guys would know how to do. And here we're going to get a negative 4. All right, now let's take the time to check. So you've got your original problem. You've got a negative 9. We're going to bust out the brackets here and do the 6 plus, and in parentheses, we're going to plug in our answer with the parentheses right there. There's the negative 4 bracket. And then we're going to subtract 2 times our answer, which was 2 times negative 4. So inside these brackets, first we've got 6 plus a negative 4. 6 plus a negative 4 is the same thing as 6 minus 4, which is 2. And then everything else just comes down. And then we have some minus the 2 times negative 4. Now this first part right here, that's a negative 18. And now it doesn't matter how you see this next part. If you see a negative times a negative, you already see the plus 8. Or you could see right here in purple, this minus. If you just want to bring that down in your work, that part's cool. So you could bring down the minus, and then you have a 2 times a negative 4, which is negative 8. But that still would turn into a plus 8. So either way, right here, we're dealing with a plus 8. So we're at negative 18 plus 8, which gives us our negative 10. Since that was the answer we were looking for, we know we're good to go. All right? Now give me just 1 sec to make this work a little bit smaller. All right, there's our check work right there. All right, so here's another problem that we're going to try now. Now the next one's a little bit tougher, and I want to point out that if this negative 6u wasn't there, that helps you see that you're going to be distributing a negative 3. So this negative 3 times 2 is a negative 6. And this negative 3 times this negative 1 would be a plus 3u. That's the red part. Now I'm going to bring the negative 6u down in my work. So we've got negative 6u minus 6 plus 3u, and that equals the 4. All right, so now after we distribute, we combine like terms. We have these 6 negative u's plus these 3 u's. So negative 6 plus 3, negative 6 plus 3 would be negative 3 u's. Now I'm just going to bring down my constant of minus 6. And here's the equals 4. And now we're ready to drop our line and solve. So now that you've seen me work through these two examples, I want to remind you that the first two steps, you're just simplifying this algebraic expression to get it down to two terms. And now you're ready to solve for the unknown. So we get rid of the 6 there. We got a negative 3u equals 10. And then here, when we divide both sides by our negative 3, we're going to leave u as a negative 10 thirds. All right. Now I'm getting ready to show you guys how to check this. You can see I went ahead and added in the negative 6 and then just plugged in the stuff here because I wanted to show you guys how to check with a fraction, and I wanted to spend some time on it. So we're going to focus first in this blue bracket here. Now within it, we've got 2 minus a negative 10 thirds. So I think you guys would all agree that minusing a negative, that's going to be 2 plus my 10 thirds. Now the thing that stinks about this is that 2 is currently a whole number, and then I've got an improper fraction. So I need this 2 to be out of 3. So y'all, what divided by 3, what thirds would make a 2? And I think you guys would agree that 6 over 3 is 2. So all I'm going to do now is swap out this 2 with the 6 thirds. Okay? So 6 thirds is the same as 2. And now I've got 6 thirds plus 10 thirds, and that's going to get our 16 thirds. Okay? So stick with me on this. You've got this. The fractions are not that bad. So in here, we have 16 thirds. Okay? That's just this blue part. Now I'm going to bring everything else down here. I've got my minus 3 out in front of it. And we can deal with this right here. You've got a negative times a negative, and that's positive. And 6 times 10 would be 60. And then over 3, that's going to be a 20. This first part is a 20. It also works to do 6 divided by 3, which is 2, and 2 times 10 is 20. So that first part, I'm just going to swap it out now. This first number is now a 20, okay? This part is a 20. So if that part is a 20, and we take away 3 times the blue answer, so here's 20. Let's take away 3 times this blue answer. Now over here in blue, though, if this is over 1, notice that those 3's just cancel out. And so we really just have minus 16 over here. And then when you have your final part of 20 minus 16, you do get a 4. And that does check out. Okay? So the 3 times 16 over 3, when you see a whole number times this, you guys have been doing 3 divided by 3, that's 1, and now 1 times 16 is the 16. And we just had the minus out in front that we brought right there. So it is acceptable to get fraction answers, and it is expected that you'll be okay plugging them in. Now, this next one, I think you'll be able to handle this one on your own, so I'm going to leave that there for you. But I do want to use this video opportunity to show you guys that you might need to distribute more than once. So for this one, you'd have to distribute here and get a 3 plus the 12y. And if that wasn't there, this would be a negative 2. So now we're going to distribute this negative 2 here and here. So this is going to be minus 10y, and this is going to be plus 6. And then, of course, we have our equals 25. Okay? So now we need to combine like terms. And let me bust my highlighter out for that. So to combine like terms, we have 12y's, positive 12y's, and we're going to take away 10 of them. So 10 subtracted from 12, we're going to have 2y's here in blue. And now for our constant, 3 plus 6 is 9. So we have officially simplified this expression by distributing and then combining like terms. And now we're ready to solve our equation for y. So at this point, I'm going to pause the video. We're going to stop there because you should know what to do with this. There's a couple problems here for you to try on your own. Be very mindful for this next to last one, folks, that there is a negative 1 here that gets distributed. So that would be a minus 3 and then a minus 8y. And then what you would bring down from in front would be the 5y plus 7. And it's minus the 3 and then minus the 8y. And then, of course, that would equal the 37. So at this point, you should know what to do. And that concludes the video on page 5. Thank you.